How would you like to improve your health and keep your family safe? You're listening to the Healthy Home Hacks podcast, where we firmly believe enjoying optimal health shouldn't be a luxury. Healthy Home Authorities and husband and wife team Ron and Lisa will help you create a home environment that will level up your health. It's time to hear from the experts. Listen in on honest conversations and gain the best tips and advice. If you're ready to dive in and improve your well-being and increase your energy, you're in the right place. All right, here are your hosts, bowel biologists, authors, media darlings, vicarious vegans, and avocado aficionados, Ron and Lisa Barris.
This episode of Healthy Home Hacks is brought to you by Boren, world leader in homeopathic medicines. Is stress overload causing you some sleepless nights? Do you want to rest easier by supporting your body with a better way to feel better? For 90 years, Boren has been dedicated to providing your family with the purest medicines made from the Earth's best resources. Boren's Sleep Calm for adults and kids are melatonin-free sleep aids with no next-day grogginess. The melt-away tablets for adults and individual liquid doses for kids are non-habit-forming and have no drug interactions. From stress to sleep, pain relief, allergies, and more, Boren has got you and your family covered with affordable homeopathic remedies that are easy to find online and in natural product stores nationwide. Help your body the natural way with gentle, worry-free formulas for even the littlest ones in your family. Visit BorenUSA.com, that's BOIRONUSA.com, to find the nearest retailer or buy direct using code RL20OFF. That's RL20OFF to save 20% off your entire purchase. It's cold and flu season. And if you're experiencing sniffling, sneezing, coughing, body aches, fatigue, or a fever, you've come to the right place. While flu viruses are detected year-round in the US, they're most common during the fall and winter. Cases often begin to rise in October, and flu activity peaks between December and February.
About 3 to 11% of us here in the US get the flu each year. And chances are you've experienced this one time or another. But many people are confused on the difference between cold and flu symptoms. Turns out fever and body aches are a telltale sign that you're dealing with the flu. A stuffy nose and sore throat, on the other hand, are symptoms associated with a cold. Both illnesses are caused by viruses, so antibiotics won't work, but there are safer over-the-counter remedies as a great first line of treatment that we are going to dive into today.
So the question is, can the cold and flu be avoided? And if you experience either, can the duration and severity be reduced? Let's just say avoiding the cold and flu is akin to preparing a healthy meal with a dash of natural knowledge, a pinch of prevention, and a cup of self-care. Seasonal woes can be a thing of the past. Our guest today is here to shed light on this very topic.
Dr. Redcross is the author of Bond, the 4 cornerstones of a lasting and caring relationship with your doctor, and founder of a unique concierge service providing patient-first treatment through strategic health services. As one of the first full-service concierge personalized medical practices in the United States, Dr. Redcross's patient portfolio includes executives, athletes, and entertainers, as well as individuals from all walks of life. He earned his MD from Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center in New York, specializing in internal medicine. Welcome to the show, Dr. Redcross.
Thank you for having me on. I've been waiting, and finally, my prayers have been answered. This is going to be fun, guys.
Are you kidding me?
Woohoo!
We had prayers for you to be on this show. We can't wait to hear more.
No, I've heard so much about your podcast, honestly, and I love what you guys put together, the content. And so I just hope to keep bringing that information to your viewers and listeners today, man. This is going to be great. A lot of learning.
A lot of learning and very timely. We are so thrilled to have you, Dr. Redcross. So thank you for being with us, and let's get started. So why is it so important to eat a healthy diet, especially this time of year? And can you share with our listeners some healthier options to include in their diet?
So look, everyone, you'll hear this a lot. We're talking a lot about saying that food is medicine. And it's so true when you're thinking of the vitamins and the minerals and things that we're doing. But you know what? It's really all about balance. I talk about 60, 40, 20, everyone. That's the macros of the 60 grams of carbs, 40 grams of protein, and 20 grams of fat. That's kind of that balance I think we all need, but we need to kind of choose healthy options throughout that to make sure we have that balance to stay ready and also flu ready during this time of year.
So not 60 grams of French fries.
Oh, no. Fries aren't on the list. I'm sorry. Not
right.
those carbs.
Healthy balance. That's very true.
Healthy balance. And I'm sorry, those carbs I was really thinking of, to your point, rice and beans are great ones that are holistic, not white rice, white pasta, that sort of thing. We want to avoid those.
Right.
Okay, because we're vegan. That was important. Thank you for that tip. You don't have to be vegan specific, but do you have any thoughts in mind for outside of beans and rice for us to get our protein?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good point. It's funny. You guys have helped me kind of explain what I've run into, because as I've tried to get a little cleaner with what I do and how I eat as well for my vegan patients, I need to get to know that better, because I go to these places and these restaurants and realize, guess what, guys? I'm pretty darn happy when I leave there with things that I didn't know that can mimic the meat and so forth.
Right. Yeah. There's so many alternatives now today available. And since we went full plant-based 6 years ago, almost 7, we had to learn about foods we never knew about too, because a lot of people who go plant-based can get really granular and eat the same things over and over. Right. And so you've got to really expand that diet into it's a lot of produce in our palate, a lot of greens, a lot of produce, but then you've got the nuts and the seeds and the avocado and the healthy fats and obviously legumes and all of that. But yeah.
So it's interesting you bring that up, because I do a lot of those. I eat one plant-based meal a day, usually in breakfast in the morning is better for me. So I'm glad you guys bring this up, because as people who follow me that aren't necessarily vegan and so forth are now recognizing that there's other opportunities to be able to eat well and get all the macros you need. I'm a big exerciser and so forth. So everything for me is, how do I hit my targets if I go plant-based? So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Okay. And pea protein is really popular. Hemp milk has really high protein. The plant-based milks are so popular now.
Yeah.
I'm digressing here a little, but if you are plant-based and you're listening, oh, wow, you can get a lot of nutrients just by getting a good quality nut milk that you're using. Like I said, hemp and pea being the 2 highest in protein. And then you've got, almond and cashew and hazelnut, macadamia. There's so many nut milks now.
Well, I'm curious about balanced diet. So before we started this podcast, Dr. Redcross told us back when he was in 10th grade, I don't know what his diet was like then, he was dunked on by the 8th grader, Alan Iverson.
Yes.
What an honor.
It was an honor. Thank you, Alan. Thank you if you're listening. Thank you.
Now, was your diet optimum at that point, or did he beat you on a bad day because you had some French fries?
Guys, he beat me because I was a French fry guy. So he wouldn't beat me now, though, because I'm closer to plant-based. I'm not as good as you guys.
Oh, wow.
Yet, but I hope to get him again. If I can find him, I'm ready to go with him now, toe-to-toe. I'm ready.
I think that's the moment. I think that we're going to see a one-on-one game with you and Alan Iverson, right? That's going to be good. I'd pay to see it. So quick question, doctor. Can lack of sleep affect our immune system and our ability to fend off the cold or flu? So
think about this, everyone. It takes only one sleepless night for you to be thrown off balance immune system wise. When we rest, we're doing 2 things. We're making sure to refresh and also restore from the insults that we've gotten all day, not physical insults, everyone, but just the S word. The S word, everyone, you'll hear me. S word is stress. I don't like to say the word because I think it gives it too much power. So that S word that's out there, those are insults that are happening all day and they're affecting your immune system. If you remember when you used to hang out with your friends, you go out one night, especially here in New York City, you get back at 3 or 4 in the morning, you wake up the next morning, what's happened? Your nose is running. You feel terrible. You feel like, oh my gosh, I'm sick. It's the immune system, everyone. And so you need to make sure you do whatever you can to kind of boost and stabilize that immune system, especially during the cold and flu season, which is going to be a doozy this year.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Well, this is a great point because when you know better, you do better. And that's a quote by Grant Hill.
No, that's my
No, okay, you're
That's
right.
me.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was about to
At
say,
least it's the quote person.
I
I was like so excited I had a quote because we saw Grant Hill on the Oprah show, right? Back in the day.
Yeah,
I thought that was it. Okay, I was wrong. Never mind.
Almost,
Okay.
almost.
Okay, so that's really important. Sleep. We have had podcast episodes on sleep and the importance. So many people underestimate it. And, we talked about this before, but the glorification of busy and aren't I great? I only get X amount of hours of sleep a night, or I only need X amount. It's become like a bragging rights that you don't sleep a lot, right?
You're right. You wear it almost as a badge of honor, right? It means that you work harder. I only need 3 hours of sleep. I could say that's a no. That's not the truth, because your brain needs to be able to recharge. I always call it hitting the pause button. Our brain needs that each and every day. So that's not the way to think about it. So when you're also thinking about sleep, let's recognize kind of brand new that we're learning even more. We just figured out the circadian rhythm as far as the gene that it's located on. And now that we're doing that, we're looking in the wellness space and we're talking about different things that can help to balance our sleep now that we have more insight. So this is a good subject, especially, like I said, during the flu and cold season, because that's when these viruses prey on us.
Yeah, right. And we're more vulnerable. And I'm a big believer in sleep. What would you say, like everyone should at least be getting, 6 to 8, or is 8 plus?
Well, kind of, sort of, Lisa. You almost hit it. The CDC says we're supposed to be getting 7.5 hours of sleep. That's the goal. That's the sweet spot. Obviously, it's on average, so some a little bit less, some a little bit more. But if you can imagine getting that 7.5 hours sleep to once again deal with those insults that are thrown to us each and every day, I promise your productivity would skyrocket.
Okay. Really good, guys. Let's get to bed. I think I've heard before 10, right?
There you go. Perfect. I was going to tell you 10 o'clock was the best. And the temperature, if I'm not mistaken, guys, the Sleep Association said the best temperature is like 67, 68. So a little chilly.
Oh.
I agree.
Actually, yeah, it's a little nippy. But those people actually slept a little bit better, actually. And you're right. The time was around 10-ish where you really got some good benefits.
Yeah. And that's really hard to do for a lot of us, but really just getting in those habits, building those habits. Okay. So Dr. Redcross, why should we be proactive and not wait to address symptoms when something like the flu occurs?
Great question. So look, everyone. So as we get these colds and so forth, we plow through. Obviously, if we get sick, we're not supposed to go to work. A lot of us do, or because we have to. But when you think about the flu is a little bit of a different animal. The number one complication of the flu, everyone, is pneumonia. And that's what a lot of the deaths that you see each and every year from the flu, it's not necessarily just the virus itself, it's the complication of pneumonia that we see. And so it's important. Earliness is the key, right? Making sure that we're on top of it and having two things, making sure we're paying attention to our bodies and also making sure that we have that relationship with the doctor, that bond that I talk about, so that I'm a little bit short of breath. This doesn't seem normal.
Yeah. I was reading on your background and some press releases and where you talk about how a lot of people, and let's be honest, especially men, will say, I'm just going to tough it out. Or, I don't need to go to the doctor.
And so that's not good.
Oh, no. Spoken like a true man, I'm
just trying to get tough here. There you go.
Well, we have a friend, someone that I grew up with, that actually passed away for this very reason.
Gosh.
Yeah, they just were home alone. No one was around. They thought they could tough it out, whatever was going on, trying to do the Gatorade thing, and ended up passing away. And so don't let your egos get in the way. If you need to see a doctor, see a doctor and make that happen, because health is the greatest wealth, right?
No, it is. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that hit home the point. Even though we're talking here, guys, and we mentioned the flu, it comes each and every year and it's just like normal, right? But to your point, that's it, Lisa. It's not really normal, everyone. So however you do it. So I am a Western trained physician. You guys mentioned I trained at Columbia here in New York. So I have my Western trained hat, but I'm on the alternative side of healing. I've kind of seen the light, in a sense, to realize that my goal is not to have to pull out my prescription pad. So when we talk about the flu, influenza, everyone, is the actual virus, of course. As we talk about that, that's where things that we'll hit on today, like on the homeopathic side, that's where those things are beautiful. Not a prescription pad, not having to deal with side effects. But once again, earliness, being on top of things early are the key.
I love that.
Well, prevention. Well, what are some of the closer to earth remedies that you prefer to give your patients and maybe even give to your family?
Well, one of the bigger ones. So at the first sign, when you guys are out there and you get flu-like symptoms, there's one called, it's a long one, oscillococcinum. I'm going to give you a spelling test later.
I know. I just learned how to pronounce it. You'd be so proud.
I still haven't learned.
Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned that one in particular, but why do I mention it, everyone? Well, it's been shown to decrease the severity and the duration of flu-like symptoms, especially when taken within that first 48 hours. But what really makes it more magic for me is that a lot of my patients are on the go. And these are little micro pellets. I'll show you everyone, actually. They're right in here. They're like little micro pellets in that dose. They're tiny. Reason why they're so good, and I usually take this before I take my flights, everyone, to be honest. I don't know if this is in the packaging insert, but before I take my flights, I make sure to take it. But in any case, it decreases the severity and duration when taken early. The other key is I don't need water. They're micro pellets, so lots of times I don't have water near me. And then what about for my patients who have diabetes, heart failure, hypertension? I don't have to worry about that with oscillococcinum or oscillo. I don't have to worry about that because there's no drug-to-drug interactions. I don't have to worry about it making them drowsy. So those are things that, quite honestly, everyone, keeps me up at night when I have to use my prescription pad for certain things, like I mentioned, for heart failure, for instance. But when it comes to flu season, I should say, rather, that's the time when we should be closer to the earth, I like to say. And that's when the homeopathic reds kind of really come in nicely.
Right. It's interesting. Yeah. Homeopathy has been around in Boron, the company that we're referencing here, for 90 years. It's so interesting that a lot of people feel like it's a new thing, it's a new alternative, but they've been around for 90 years.
But you know what else is funny, Lisa, when you're saying it seems like it's new. So when I went with my family, we were in Europe and we were just enjoying some time out there. And I have twins, everyone, and one of my kids wasn't feeling so well. So I went there. It wasn't so unique. In fact, that's what they had. They had areas with homeopathy.
Wow.
So, I'm looking for, I didn't know, just in my mind, everyone, you're thinking, oh, I need a Western. No, I didn't. I went there and the oscillococcinum was there. The cold calm, which is another remedy for more cold symptoms, sneezing, runny nose, stuffy nose. Once again, my kids were older. It's safe for kids 3 and older. But my point is, it was so cool to be somewhere where in Europe, they already get it.
They get it.
They already get it.
They get
so it was nice to see that it was
smart
actually
Europeans.
It was mainstream. There you go, those smart Europeans.
The smart Europeans.
So what if you don't know which one to take? Because you said cold calm. So what would be the thought there?
Good point, Ron. So that's the reason why it's so important, like Lisa said at the top of the segment, to kind of discern between the cold and the flu. The flu, guys, it's almost like you feel like you've been hit by a truck, a Mack truck. It's those body aches. It's the fever. It's the chills. The cold tends to be more upper airway stuff, tends to be kind of stuck in the head, the face, the ears, and that sort of thing. That's when cold calm kind of has a nice place there. But when you're feeling flu-y, that sort of thing, especially when that fever starts to act up, that's when you want to get it in your system as soon as you can. And back to that diet that we all talked about, making sure that you're eating properly as well and fueling right.
Yeah, when you don't feel well. So what do you find most appealing about these homeopathic medicines? And what are some of your favorites for the cold and flu? We mentioned oscillococcinum.
Oh,
yeah,
she passed.
But we can call it oscillo for sure. Talks about cold calm. Is there any cough syrup or anything else?
Yeah, there is, everyone. So look, the reason why I love homeopathy in particular is, like I said, I can sleep at night. There's less worry because I know that they've been around for years, decades, that homeopathy's been around. I also know that, once again, as my patients that have to take those medications, I don't have to worry about interactions. I don't really even have to worry about side effects, which gives you a lot of calls, everyone, and going back and forth on how to make Miss Jones better with something that you gave her. My whole goal is to do no harm, right?
Right.
And so the best cough medicine I have is also with boron, and it's called Chestol. It's a honey-based formula, everyone.
Nice.
And the magic of honey, it's very, very interesting. I don't know if you guys ever followed me on social media before, but I was a beekeeper for a day.
Neat.
Wow.
Yeah, when I went to a spiritual retreat out in Austin.
Ooh.
And I say that because you have to understand that honey is all about healing. Back to what we talk about, because guys, I am a fitness kind of nut. The only 2 forms of sugar that are healthy for us, that are natural, is really maple syrup and honey.
Wow.
They're coming from the earth, right? They're coming from special places, well, and especially with bees. And so when you look at that, they even found honey in the tombs. I mean, that's just kind of how sacred it is.
Wow.
And so when you're dealing with Chestol and the honey, you're getting the benefit in that it's more of an expectorant. It doesn't suppress the cough, which we don't want. I don't want to keep all that in your bronchus.
Yeah.
I need that to come out. And that's what the honey really helps with. I also like the fact that you could take it day or night. Once again, there's no somnolence with it, like some of the over-the-counters that have all those artificial ingredients to make it cherry.
Disgusting.
Or it's not a cherry in the bottle, guys.
Right.
I promise you, there is not a cherry in there.
Right. It looks like it.
But it looks like, right, it looks like it. So I say that when we talk about things that we need to make sure that we are flu ready during this season. So when you're in the Redcross household, they're on the first name basis, and there's nothing better than having your kids kind of grow up and know what to reach for when they're not feeling
right.
themselves.
Learning that
and
early.
that you can help them.
I love that the homeopathic medicines obviously have no known drug interactions. They're non-habit forming, no artificial colors, sweeteners, flavors, all of that. But most importantly, like you just said, they're not masking the symptoms like so many medications, right? Just masked. And we're used to that.
You know, Lisa, you brought up a great point because you said non-habit forming, everyone. So if we had this talk, gosh, guys, probably because of the pandemic. So let's say 4 years ago, we had an opioid epidemic and it's not fully gone. Has it improved somewhat? Yeah, but now fentanyl's on the rise. But I mentioned that when you mentioned habit forming, because a lot of the over-the-counter stuff, good luck trying to find it, guys. If you're looking on the Western side, because they've taken them all off the shelves because they were getting abused for a lot of the components that were in there. And so once again, it's just kind of letting us know the cold flu stuff, Western medicine's not the way in the beginning of this, right? It's the homeopathic way to try this first. It's symptom treatment, which is the big focus there when you talk about it. So I'm so glad you mentioned about the non-habit form, because you're right, that's key. America's changed a bit, but it's still there that we need to be mindful of that.
What's that movie we watched, Ron? Dope Sick. Did you ever see that?
Oh, yeah, that was a good movie.
Have you seen that, Dr. Redcross?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, rent it. Oh my gosh.
True story.
So good.
Wow.
It's about the opioid epidemic. Ron, what is it? What is the prescription?
Yeah, you're right. It was, I'm drawing a blank here.
Michael Keaton plays the doctor. It's based on the true story.
Vicodin or?
Oh, Vicodin. I think it's Vicodin, right? No,
it
is it?
wasn't
No.
Oxycontin?
Oh, Oxycontin.
Okay,
Oxycontin.
all right.
That's right. Exactly it. Yep.
Okay.
So it's Oxy. They're Oxys, as people will call them.
Oxy. Okay. And it's based on the actual story of what happened and how the doctor in West Virginia, who was played by Michael Keaton, and they really pushed him to start overprescribing and telling him there's no risk for addiction and side effects and all this. And of course there was, and how it just exploded. And it's very just sad to watch because, he thought he was doing a good job as the physician, being told that it was safe. Turns out it wasn't at all. And now those have been so many lawsuits and all of that around that. So it's risky. And I think like as a society, people, especially as they get older, they're just used to taking so much medicine and not realizing like these are dangerous drugs, some of them, that why not try the least harmful to, first, always as your first line of defense.
No, you're right.
Hey, I wanted to back up really quick. I felt like we skated over this. So Dr. Redcross, two things. You said you were a beekeeper for a day. I was wondering why one day? And then the second thing I wanted to figure out, I wanted to get a visual. Like, so did you put on the suit and you had like your little smoke device? What did you do? In 60 seconds or less, tell us about your beekeeper experience.
Let me tell you, Ron, I was living it. I had my beekeeper hut. I thought it was, I like my things a little tailored. So I would have taken it in a little bit on the side. But the point is, I had it. I had my little beekeeper thing, and they would only let me stay for 2 hours. That's what I paid for.
Oh, I see.
So I was there. I was learning. I tasted different ones, some that were smoky because they were germinated with mesquite.
Oh.
And it changed the flavor of the honey.
Oh.
But the whole point for me was just, once again, getting back closer to the earth. Honey is just so amazing in so many different ways. And when you talk about it in chest oil and so forth, it just helps with that irritation that you get in your throat. It helps with, like I said, with the expectoration, which is what we want, not to let it with all the suppressants over the counter, because then they come in with bronchitis. So that's the only reason why I wasn't a professional beekeeper. I need to look that up, guys. I forget the name. There's a name for a professional beekeeper.
We need to see that picture. Okay. Hopefully it's on your Instagram.
Oh my gosh, somewhere it's there.
We need to flash that up.
We should say, I thought there was going to be a story like it was one day because a bee got inside the net of your face and it bit you. And I was digressing here, but doctor, what is the issue concerning medications for children? So like, what must we be mindful of when administering medicines to younger members of our family?
Well, as we finish up kind of the honey story, not as crazy and wild as Ron would have wanted it. But like, for instance, you have to be careful with children because you can't go too low with children taking honey. It's 2 or 3 or older. So that's one reason. But the main thing is those over-the-counter meds, once again, they're not real, everyone. I was joking before, there's not cherry in there. There's not a grape in there. So if there's not a cherry or grape in there, what is in there, parents? What's in there? And a lot of them are sedating. Some of them can make our kids a little wilder than they normally are because it just doesn't work with their little systems. And so that's why I say we don't really have any wonderful kind of Western med options for the beginning of cold and flu season in particular. So it's really putting artificial ingredients and also some potentially habit forming ingredients in our kids' little bodies. And so it's just important about being mindful about what we're putting in, even when we're eating. Even as I eat certain days, I have a calendar to where I'm more mindful about eating. So I have the food in front of me, but I'm thinking about the farmer who grew that particular asparagus, or I'm trying to think of the person down in Oxnard who has those strawberries on my plate, Oxnard, California, and that sort of thing. And so that's my mindful eating. And so I think about that with anything I put in my body. So I hope anyone listening and watching thinks like, maybe Doc is right. Maybe I should really think about where that product came. I'm giving you an example of that farmer in Oxnard. You can imagine him or her out there. Can you imagine somebody putting a fake cherry in a bottle? Who that looks like? What that looks like?
Chemical plants.
There you go. You see a guy in that white suit with a dropper with something that's not real.
Hazmat.
There you go. That's more like it. I don't want that in my body, and you don't want it in your kids' bodies either.
Yeah. Isn't that true? I mean, it's something we talk about so much on this podcast. Everything from, the bedding you sleep on, making sure that that's organic and that that's not doused in pesticides and that, your air freshener, Ron's famous quote, you can't put fresh air in a can. You can't buy fresh air in a can, regardless of the beautiful commercial up in the Himalayan mountains, and fresh air is only made, from nature. And so.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's such a great point. And I know we had talked to Ron and me when we were little, we liked cough drops because, we thought they were like candy. I remember eating a little chewy cough drop that I loved because I thought it tasted so good. Cherry. It actually was cherry flavor. And Ron actually was cherry. I got my fruits for the day. And you too, Ron, you were eating cough drops all the time.
Lots of cavities, I'll tell you. Yeah. Lots of cavities.
So in the gummies, knowing that gummies, we have to be careful if they are loaded with sugar, gelatin.
You have the perfect name for a doctor, Dr. Redcross.
I know.
Like here he comes. That's Dr. Redcross.
Is that crazy or what, right?
That's so amazing. Yeah.
It shows you the good Lord has a sense of humor. That's it.
You didn't have a choice in your career, right?
I did not have a choice. It's so funny, guys. So I'm the first doctor in my family. So it's so funny. I thought about it once I was in med school. They always there can't be a Redcross in here. It's a Native American last name. So it's a pretty cool story. 1787 was the first Red Cross. John married Lucy. And that was the first Red Cross. It's kind of cool when you see the documents, everyone, because it's that nice script from the 1700s with 10 times better penmanship than I have.
Oh, wow. That's really
cool. So it's pretty cool.
That's excellent.
I
That's great.
That. Oh my gosh, this has been so incredible. Thank you, Dr. Redcross. And remember, friends, as Dr. Redcross says, the best defense is good offense. The most important thing you can do is practice preventative measures and stock up now on homeopathic medicines that you may need for the season. Thank you again. And to learn more about Dr. Redcross's work and services, visit Dr. Ken Redcross, that's DRKEN Redcross.com. And to learn more about boron, visit Boron USA, that's BOIRON USA.com.
And we'll have all the links in the show notes at ronalisa.com/podcast. Stay tuned next week, friends, and get ready to up-level your health. See you then. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys. Have an awesome day.
This episode of the Healthy Home Hacks podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more healthy living strategies and tactics to help you create the healthy home you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.